we've seen this in the systems where if you don't fit into this boat, we're going to make you feel like an outsider. I've seen this happening. I've predicted this stuff. And if you want to be a spiritual entrepreneur, if you want to tap into your gifts and actually be paid for your genius, to monetize your genius, you have to be the bravest person in the room. You've got to be the most powerful person in the room. And you've got to know that you're not going to shrink to make him happy or her happy or them happy. You have to hold yourself, your standards and your boundaries.
Hello, my loves, and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone Leah, and I am your host, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today. Today, I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing the phenomenal Victoria Bond. Now, Victoria is a spiritual empowerment coach, and she has an absolute gift for helping people to bring out their own gifts and their own unique essence and put that into their business. Now, I thought today's interview was going to be all about how to be a successful spiritual entrepreneur. But instead, and as much as the interview does speak a lot to being a successful entrepreneur, it also speaks to being yourself in your business. This interview, to me, it was groundbreaking. And it was groundbreaking because she really talks about showing up as who you are and the impact you can have when you're being truly yourself. A lot of people, they might be like, I want to be a spiritual entrepreneur, but I'm scared of what people will think of me, or I'm just going to dip my toe in and see what the reaction is. Victoria really gives you permission to show up 100% as yourself and just shine as who you are and create a business as who you are, not hiding any bits, not showing only the edited pieces of content. You can literally turn up and show up how you want to show up and have a successful business. And that is just honestly life-changing. This interview today, guys, is transformational. The interview itself is transformational. Having that permission to see other people showing up as 100% who they are and being successful, it gives you so much permission to know that you can do that too. So I really hope you guys enjoy this interview today, guys, because I literally loved bringing it to you. Hello and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone Leah and I am your host, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today because I have the amazing Victoria Bond, who is a spiritual empowerment coach, with me today to talk about the amazing and very cool topic of how you can actually have a successful business as a spiritual entrepreneur. So I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation, Simone. I'm so excited to talk about this today.
I've been wanting to have someone on with this topic for ages because I feel like as the world is going through more of an awakening, there are more people who are wanting to tap into their actual zones of genius and their gifts. And you're exactly the person to talk to about how to bring those gifts out and present them to the world. So I'm dying to jump in, but can I just start with the age-old question of what does creating a life you love mean to you?
Well, ultimately, it means absolute freedom. It means freedom to be able to amplify your voice, your genius, to literally be seen and heard and witnessed, and to ultimately find who you are, which is freedom. So I think it's what we're all looking after is freedom, freedom to be who we actually are.
Yes, I totally agree. Freedom to be as expressed as you want to be and show up how you want to show up. You just froze for a second there,
Hmm.
so I'll cut that bit out.
Absolutely.
It's all good. Alrighty, so jumping into the topic today, obviously, if we're looking, say, 10, 15 years ago, the thought of being spiritual and being a medium and talking about the fact that you can communicate with spirit, that was all really taboo, but we're seeing such a big shift in that. So I'd love to actually talk to you about how someone who is spiritual and wants to bring their gifts out into the world, how they can actually go about and get started in that sort of thing.
And this is my genius. So where I started was about 8, 9 years ago, I had what some people would call a mental breakdown. It was actually a total breakthrough and it was an awakening. So I call my entire branding, my entire movement is awakening with Victoria Bond because we're going through awakening process and we have to be able to go through the awakening. And I know, Simone, your story just shared a little bit about you before, and you were like, oh my goodness, why wasn't I bringing this to the world? So now I'm bringing it to the world because I was living that. You were embodying the spiritual stuff so you could bring it out into the world. And this is what I had to go through. So I had to kind of wake up. I had two little children, like little babies, and I started questioning everything I'd ever been told in the system, told from my parents, whom I love very dearly, but I was brought up religious and with a set of rules. And I'm like, hang on, but what if that's not real? What if, and I started going kind of deep down this rabbit hole of what the freaking hell is going on? Who the hell am I? Like all I knew was my name and I let go of everything else. I went to the doctors and I had been begging for medication because I was like, what is happening? And everyone was like, no. And I was like, how can you not see I'm drowning within myself here? But I had to make a decision and I had to make a decision to jump. And, I've been really talking about fight, flight, freeze, and fly, and I did. I jumped and I flew. And I decided that while I was going through my own experience, I would share it with others. So I created a summit called Mum's Time to Shine because I thought if I'm struggling after having two little kids, and I didn't even know what a summit was. I had never used a computer in my life. I was not techie. I always had a cheap little secondhand cell phone. Like I really was not the type of person to use any type of technology. So I bought this program thing, had no money, just followed my gut, and I knew it was going to make me millions of dollars, but it didn't. It didn't do anything other than make me work my ass off interviewing people from all around the world. Everyone said I told you so, and I knew it was the best thing I ever could have done because it taught me how to be on a computer, how to interview people. It taught me how to get uncomfortable, how to stretch, and I was able to showcase other people like we do on podcasts and interviews and learn what it is to be as an embodied human being, to take radical action and also responsibility and share it with the world. So that is a very long way of saying, you have to do you have to go in to come out. And people are chasing and they're always reactive to the world. And they're always like, I need and I want, and what can I get from this person rather than what can I give? So I changed my breakdown to a breakthrough. And therefore, I literally invested in myself so I could share it with the world during the process, and magic and miracles happened. And now, like 8, 9 years later, I'm a multiple six-figure business owner, and it's been for years and years and years now. Um, I am making a big difference. I've got my free everything. I've got free platforms everywhere. 90% of my work is free. And all I had to do was be me. But in the process of doing that, I had to find me. So you don't know how to monetize your genius or to show up until you jump, and you don't know if you're going to fly. You have no idea if those wings are actually going to like spread and you're going to be able to glide. You don't know if you're going to fall. And if you fall, then you have to jump back up and fly again and again and again and again and again. So I had went into this with absolute blind faith, by dropping religion, by dropping all points of views, judgments, considerations that I'd ever been told, and I went in absolutely blind. But what happened was I found parts of me, and I found people to help me along the way, and I also helped millions of people along the way. So you just have to literally step forward and follow the spark. And my spark was nearly out. There was the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest spark. And that spark was helping other mums who were going through awakening process. Because having children is a whole, we have many ways of awakening, but having children is awakening process. And my second son, Christian, his name is Christian, which is very ironic. He woke me up. He came sunny side up, Prosperia, and he came in and he shook up my whole life, so I couldn't ignore any parts of unconsciousness anymore. I had to lean in. And awakening isn't easy, and neither is becoming an entrepreneur, neither is becoming successful. And Simone, you've said you've had like lots of businesses since you're 18 years old. You're an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, and none of it was easy. But we can't go in with a victim mentality. We've got to go in with a giving mentality. So if you want to help the world and you want to be successful and sustainable, you have to come from an open source energy of what can I give here rather than what can I take. So that's how I would kind of answer that question.
Oh no, I love the answer to that question. I absolutely love it. What would you recommend? Because I know that you work as a medium as well, a psychic medium. If someone is going through that awakening, because I do feel like that's where a lot of people are at, and they're having that thing where they're questioning everything. And slowly, I feel like a lot of people are starting to realize they've got this ability or this ability or this ability. And so, say someone's starting to develop these abilities within themselves, like say they are becoming psychic, or they've got other abilities, like, they love doing tarot cards, or they love astrology, or say they want to create a business coming from that really magical place. How do you incorporate that when you're literally in, I've got to sink and swim, but the whole world's going to think I'm crazy because I see dead people? Like, you know what I mean? That whole thing of you're already afraid because you're going to be an entrepreneur, but then you add that extra layer of, my friends are going to think I'm weird, and nobody's talking about this. How do you like, how do you find people can approach that sort of business side?
The first thing you need to do is understand that everyone might leave you. And those people that leave you, and like, were they really your people? Like, my husband is still with me. We've been together for, oh my God, 24 years, I think, since we were 16. So I'm 40, met him when I just turned 16. We had a couple of years of not being together because obviously we had to go experience life. But we're married and we've got kids, and he's the love of my life. And literally, I had to say, I'm going to go on this path. And if he cannot back me, or at least, should I say, respect me, I don't care if he believes in the same things as I believe. It's his prerogative. It's none of my business what anyone believes. I have Christians working with me. I have all sorts of people working with me, people that go to church, and they know exactly what I believe. I don't call myself anything. I call myself a spiritual empowerment coach, but I don't even call myself spiritual. I just am, you know. So the biggest thing is you have to be willing to choose yourself first over anybody. The only people I would sacrifice my truth, or should I say my living for, would be my children. And that is because I'm human. I'm human. So I would, I know as a spiritual, expanded soul, we should probably choose ourselves before our children, but I can't. I'm a human. So my kids, I will sacrifice myself. I'll sacrifice myself for my kids, but nobody else. And that's because we are meant to be human. But it is scary. Now, last year I had a friend, my best friend of 20 years, who had always been there through my births, not literally, but after I had children, she was always there. She was there during my breakups, and she just stopped wanting to hang out with me. The bigger I get, the more authentic I am, the more real I am, the more truth I speak, the more bold I am, the more I rub people up the wrong way. I'm not saying things directly to them, but I'm becoming like larger globally and making more money. And some people do not like that. That is none of my business, other people judging me. But how I hold myself is my business. So you might be afraid of ghosts. I'm more afraid of humans, because humans are conditioned to fit into a classroom, to wear a certain type of clothing, to act a certain way, and to not rock the boat. And we've seen this, how humanity, I'm not going to say any words that might get like, like the wrong words here, because we don't want to be taken down off the internet. But we've seen this in the systems where if you don't fit into this boat, we're going to make you feel like an outsider. I've seen this happening. I've predicted this stuff. And if you want to be a spiritual entrepreneur, if you want to tap into your gifts and actually be paid for your genius, to monetize your genius, you have to be the bravest person in the room. You've got to be the most powerful person in the room. And you've got to know that you're not going to shrink to make him happy or her happy or them happy. You have to hold yourself, your standards and your boundaries. And like, if you don't, then where are you just being a mirror of somebody else? Now, your friends and your family should be celebrating you, and they should be excited. And when you're making your first million, they should be throwing a party for you and shouting you dinner, rather than going, oh, she's got enough money now, or just pretending that they don't know about what you're doing. Like, we can't expect that from people. We just have to shine our brightest light and go, I hope someone's going to be left at the end of this, because this is who I actually am. I was like the shy hairdresser who was always just getting enough, who drank way too much alcohol, smoked like a chimney before I had kids. And, like I say, me and my husband, we've been through so much since we were 16 and 17. We had trauma bonds because of our own upbringings. We've had to clean out everything, and he's grown with me. And now he's my business partner. Like, we just bought a boat. I just bought him a boat. I bought him a truck, and I was like, come on, let's go in consciousness together. It worked, but I took the chance. I took the jump and I flew. The difference between it is you have to know what is aligned and what is ego. And when your ego is like, I want more, I want more, I want more, and your husband isn't keeping up or your friends aren't keeping up and you're ditching them, then you need to have a look at yourself. If it's not aligned, then it's a different feeling. It's a quieter feeling. I'm going in this way, and you can come if you want, and if you don't, that's okay. Thank you so much for the reason, the season, or the lifetime. But if it's loud, like, oh, I want this and I want this now, and you're not keeping up with me, that is pure ego, because I don't expect anyone to keep up with me or go as fast as me. But I do want respect and I want love. And the minute that doesn't happen, I'm like, okay, then my people celebrate me and they grow with me, right? So to bring this out into the work, you have to be bold, you have to be courageous. And not many people are. More people are becoming that because they're waking up, they're awakening within themselves. But you have to actually get on the screen, or you have to actually show up. You have to actually say, by the way, I'm a psychic medium. You have to not hide that from people that love you. My parents don't know what I do. They don't have a freaking clue. My dad asked me once, Victoria, I still don't really get what you do. And they can tell that I've gone from poverty to actually having a beachfront house and a boat, so they're like, and a new truck. So they're like, what the fuck? Like, she used to complain, and now like, what? And I'm from humble beginnings. We're not from money at all. And we've got a big family. And so Dad says, I don't even know what you're doing. And I said, Dad, I talk to dead people. And he just goes, yeah, I'm an atheist. And then I just kind of laughed, because I'm like, I don't even know. Okay, yeah, my mum's Catholic as, and she's all like, nope. And I'm like, and my sisters we're all super psychic in my family, but my mom and my grandma, they all gave it up to God, so they don't like ever delve into anything. And now it's coming out in us in all sorts of ways. But it's funny, because I'm not accepted for who I am as this part of Victoria. I'm accepted as a part that they can see as that Victoria, and I just have to let that be. As long as I'm being respected, like, I have no problem being in anybody's vortex. So yeah, you have to be brave, courageous, and you've got to keep going. You don't just invest in one coach and go, oh, okay, can't do any more. Like, you have to keep investing, keep showing up. You've got to be continuous. You don't give up on your mission. It's your life's mission. You don't go, when I get $1 million, I'll stop. Well, you're in it for the wrong reason. You don't do it for the money. You do it for the heart-led passion and the fire. And if someone can't handle the heat, they can get out of the kitchen.
I'm so in love with listening to you speak. Like I'm just loving this. Like this is amazing. And I feel like we're like so on the same brainwave at the moment because I was literally going to say what would you recommend to someone who feels like that they don't want to be seen, like they're not out there saying, "Hey, I'm a psychic," because they're a little bit scared of not being seen. And then you just went straight into that and you did it so beautifully and I loved that explanation you gave about feeling into whether or not the people are aligned and just kind of saying, look, I really do. I love you. As you said, I love you. But if this isn't aligned for us anymore, that's okay too. And I just thought that was the most beautifully eloquent thing, the way you said that. And I know so many people can relate to literally everything you've said, especially the parts about the family where it's like, they just don't really get it, and that's totally okay. Like that is 100% fine. So yeah, I literally loved all of that. And I know that the audience would have got so much value out of it as well because you just speak so beautifully. So thank you. The next
You're
question would
welcome.
then come to like, if you were wanting to monetize those gifts, like you're like, all right, I can do this. I can show up. I'm ready to jump. I don't want to just step. I'm ready to fly. How do I monetize my flying? Do I need to go high ticket? Do I need to do a $5 a week course? Do I need to do a summit, which I personally love summits and I love that's how you got started. It's one of the ways I got started too. I love summits. What would you recommend if someone's wanting to bring their gifts to the world? Where do they start?
It all depends on how they feel because obviously there's energetics and strategy. I say that there's spirituality, like spiritual practices, energetics, and because the energetics and mindset are kind of one, and strategy. So I kind of see it like the three in one. It's about how you feel. So most really great business models, and I know one of my coaches uses this, is filling up the high ticket. So to fill up like your coaching, and then once you've coached a few people you get a really good understanding of your own system, your own methodology, and you can create that into a program, and therefore you create a program. And this is my business model is kind of similar to this but a little bit different. It's quite simple. I can kind of sell up or sell down. I have very, very low. I've got a $12 fucking program. Excuse me for swearing, but I've got a $12 program. I mean, and people's lives are changing. It's insane. And in a free program, I've got free, I've got a $12 program, I've got a like $22 membership weekly, which is more like a mastermind. It's so high level. I do have a business mastermind and I have one-to-one. So that's quite a lot, but I wouldn't recommend that if you were starting to start out with all of that because it's over it's very overwhelming and it will overload you. That's what I've created over like 8, 9 years. So you need to start with a thing that is the most expansive and turned on within the body. So we really want to look at the pussy power. We want to look at what is turning you on. So you've got to start there. So it may be starting with the free thing because you can't just go straight in and go, hey, can I have your money? It's like going into like a cafe, going up to a hot guy and being like, hey, like, or a guy going up to a girl and like grabbing her boob or grabbing her ass and going, hey, nice rack, like the girl's gonna slap. Whoa, you could have like warmed me up a little bit. Like you don't just do that. Like you have to introduce yourself. You have to be like, this is who I am. Do you want to see a taster of me? And this is where most entrepreneurs are going wrong. They're going in, because I experience this, right? People come to me and they go, hey, Vic, I've had a Facebook page for 2 weeks. No one's buying. And I'm like, well, there's a few things you need to do. First of all, you need to show people who you are. Know, like, and trust, right? We know this. Know, like, and trust. Do they know you? Or are you just asking them to hop in bed with you? Seriously, like, come on. Like, when I sign up to a coach, I'm a real early adopter. Like, I literally go, I want to work with you. Here's the money. Let's go. But I never used to be that way because I was in a certain system program. I've deconditioned myself from this 3D and now I function more 5D. So you've got to let people see you. whatever that means, right? So you can have an offer. I would start off with one thing. This is my one offer. I always say if it's under $1,000, it should be a lead magnet to your next thing. Because a lot of people are like, I want to have $10,000 months. And I'm like, that's great. But you're going to have to do like 100,000 one-to-one sessions every single week to be able to do that, where I make easy 50K every single month because I've got a system in place to put everybody somewhere if they're interested in me. But you can't start off with that. You've got to start with knowing, who do I want to work with? What are the breakthroughs they get? What is my system? What is my methodology? And then if you capture that and you figure that out, then you can pop that into a program so you can share it with more people for a cheaper price, but have more quantity, right? And it's massive. So that's what I do. I have my certification, Magnificent Mediumship, and people come in and I get to share the same stuff as I'd be sharing in one-to-one with a whole lot of people, and they get support. So there's so many different types of business models, but the biggest thing is like, don't start somewhere and then start dropping your prices. I see so many people, they start with me, they start becoming quite successful. They're on this kind of train and they go, oh, I'm getting some momentum. I don't need her anymore. And I'm like, this is exactly when you need me. This is exactly when you need that coach to go, okay, I'm getting some momentum. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Instead, they go, oh, okay, maybe I should just drop my price a little. And they fall back into the old system of time for money. And it shouldn't be time for money. It should be like, well, hey, I'm sorry, but no amount of money you pay me is actually going to be worth my time, because my time is literally priceless. People transform in my reality, in my vortex so quickly, they get woken up just by being in my energy. It's priceless. And if you have that energy, not of like a cocky kind of ego, but more of a power ego, and you have the humbleness of your work, it creates deep alignment. So what I did is I started off with this concept of free source. And I started a Facebook page because I was doing my mum's time to shine, and I didn't know what the F I was doing. I just knew I had to keep doing this. And I said to my husband, we're going to be multimillionaires and I have to do this and trust the process. And he's like, oh, I have no idea what you're doing. It's like, you don't need to know, but this is the thing keeping me alive and sane, helping others. So I started a Facebook page and then I started doing a challenge. And this was a long time ago, like 8 years ago. And I started showing up every day at like 5:30 in the morning after I'd done a workout for my mental health. So I did a workout and I'd show up red-faced, sweaty. Sometimes I'd have a child that come down and sit on my knee. Like it was like such a mess. And about 2 years later, when I was starting to make quite a lot of money, like a normal wage, replacing a normal wage, I should say, people said to me, the reason why I signed up to you is because I was like, if your free stuff is this good and you're sharing everything like hard on your sleeve, totally open about everything, what I'm learning, go do this, and I cared so deeply for people, then what the hell is your paid stuff like? So the minute I started like going, here's my Release Your Blocks program, which was my first program, I just got all of everything I'd ever learned, put it into modules and just started spitting it out. And people were like, whoa, like people did it 3 or 4 times. I'm like, this is insane. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew to talk. And they were like, what the hell was that? So I did that 3 times. I kept doubling the prices, but everything I did, I cared so deeply about. And my systems were rip, shit, and bust. I've always been a throw spaghetti at the wall girl. It wasn't until 3 years ago my husband came and started working full time for us because I need techie, because I'm not techie, or I'm not even a link person. I'm like a, where the hell is the link? So you don't have to be techie to be successful. We're making like probably, oh my God, 10 times the amount of money we were making before. And all of our dreams is compounding, right? All of our dreams coming true. Everything is compounding because I took the plunge to do the free thing, the open source thing. And then I had the balls to say, who wants to pay me, and we'll go deeper and my eyes will be on your work. And ever since then, I've been doing half the amount of work and making more money every single year because I'm getting better at my practice and I'm willing to receive. So, to answer that in short, after that long riff, would be saying you just have to choose something, follow the energy, even if it doesn't make sense. Make sure you've got a link so people can pay you and make it easy for them to pay you. Too many people are like, I'm like, so how much is your offer? And they go, well, I haven't figured that out yet. And I'm like, I knew I was a medium before I was a medium. I knew it. I knew I was a medium before I'd even done a reading. It was the craziest thing. Follow the dream and make sure you have some simple link, even if it's your bank account number saying put the money in and then you get the service. You have to start with a very simple system. And literally, you need to realize this is not about you. This is so much bigger than you. And who are you not to do something with all of these free resources? Free resources everywhere. Like, you can start with nothing and make millions if you can see the resources that are right in front of you.
I literally love all of that. And there are so many things I want to speak to about all of that. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, everything. One thing I do want to ask about though, for some people who might be getting a little bit confused on the content front, who are like, you're
Mm-hmm.
hearing on the one hand, you're hearing everything needs to be exactly about what your offer is and what you're selling. There needs to be on point branding. You need to like have every post needs to be speaking directly to your ideal audience about whatever it is. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I just showed up living my life with my heart on my sleeve, no makeup
Yeah.
on, and that was me being me. If someone was starting today, would you recommend that the advice of being very targeted in exactly what content they're putting out there? Or would you say put everything out there? Or would you say really connect into what needs to go out today? And this also speaks to the fact of what you're saying before, which I love, of knowing that you're not doing this for me, you're doing this to share because of the transformation you can see in others and the way that you can help others. So when you're creating your content, are you thinking I'm just gonna put myself out there, or are you thinking how am I going to do this to help the next person, or am I thinking just go very, very like niched? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't just do really niched. I'm a 3-5 projector in human design. I have no motives. I'm completely open. That's why I'm so psychic. I'm a total empath. If my team and I try to get too direct into where we're going and plan the whole year, I will literally say yes 1 minute and the next day I throw it all out the window. And my poor husband, who is my closest teammate, is pulling his hair out going, we had a plan. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the plan, because the truth is I got to follow my intuition and my gut. So, I mean, I've got a program and a mastermind starting this week and next week. And that wasn't on the plan. It wasn't on the plan. So when you look at my branding, it's morphed a lot over the years. We're always meant to be morphing, but it's very spiritual. If you see my YouTube, it's barely any business. It's all spiritual. So when people come into my vortex, they start going down a rabbit hole, and it's about being discoverable. We are not meant to be talking to people like they are 8-year-olds. We are not meant to be making sure our branding is perfect. Now, if you're, for instance, the energy of you like things, you're a generator, for instance, and you want things in a systemized step by step by step, and you want your grids to look perfect. And I've got a managing client, and her stuff is on point. It is so hot. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm like literally drooling over your Instagram feed. Mine looks like I've thrown a whole lot of pictures up and spoken about whatever I want, maybe 5 times a day or nothing for a week. And that's the way that I roll. And it seems to work for me because as a 3-5 in human design, which is a whole system to get out of the system, which works really well for me and really helped me make so much more money and help me be a better coach. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And if I show up because I have to be niched and going towards this type of person, then I have noticed that if anything's too controlled, no one even sees me. I'm not even seen. Well, when I show up, I did the best random masterclass. I jumped on with 10 minutes notice and I talked about materializing your manifestations. And then we put it on YouTube afterwards. And we were like, oh my God, this has exploded. It wasn't even planned. I don't even know if I had my actual proper camera on. I had 5 notes. I have like literally a little legal pad where I have like 5 notes. And I riff. So it depends on what your genius is. And this is why you can't just go do a basic business course on social media, because for me as a projector, being told to do 3 posts a day, to do 10 emails, to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this, like I want to die. I'm not in this to have a job. I'm in this because it's my passion. So I will say yes to a podcast interview, or I will like say yes to this or no to that, or I'll go and do a random masterclass and things explode because I'm not a robot. So I don't care about the perfect grids. I've got like 1,000 people on my Instagram. I'm like, I've got a couple of, I've got quite a few people on my email list now, but probably like 3,000. I've got 10,000 on YouTube, and I've got 2,500 on Facebook. I don't have a big audience. It's not about having a big audience, it's about having an engaged audience. The more you show up, even if you're a little bit messy like me, like I messaged you, Simone, just before and said, oh, no hurry, I'm not even dressed yet, like 10 minutes before our call. Like, it's, I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Sometimes I get up at 4 in the morning and I'm writing content. And other times I'm like, I'm not even going to look at my phone today. So consistency is super important, but it has to be in consistency that works with your rhythm, your flows, your human design, your cycle. So some people say, oh, during my period I go offline for a whole week. Good for you. But I don't. I'm like, how do I feel today? What do I want to share today? So there's many different ways people can work with me, but if I try to make my funnel too jam-packed, too dense and solid, I start freezing. I start literally going into fight, flight, or freeze, and I'm not flying anymore. And the minute I start going, oh God, I'm feeling that feeling in my body, I'm starting to shrink. I know I just went too much into structure. And visionaries and artists, like entrepreneurs, a visionary and artist, should not be put into boxes. If you get off on making your grid perfect, do that. If you're like me and you go, I'm getting anxiety of even thinking about how to do that, like I don't even do my links, I don't do my payments, I outsource everything that doesn't turn me on, then do that. But you have to be a CEO and say, what can I do today that turns me on, that feels good? Who can I reach out to? What can I learn today? There's a saying that I love. I can't remember where I heard it, but entertainment is for victims, education is for victors. And I see this massively. It might have been a book. I'm really into listening to audiobooks. Um, I see this in communities. Victim, 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 or hey, how can you show me the next step? I see this in my clients as well. I can tell you in 2 seconds who's going to be a multimillionaire, or who's going to go, oh, yeah, okay, that's enough for now. I've got to go back under my rock. And there's not a lot of people that are ballsy enough to keep going, but you start small and do what feels good for you. And I wish I knew that years ago, because I just, like the 3-5 I am, I just threw spaghetti at the wall, and I still do, and go, I wonder what's going to land today. And it's the days that I go to the beach and I go, who is Victoria Bond? They are the days where I have a 10K land into my bank account when I'm walking on the beach, not the days that I'm on my computer hustling. Those days I'm like, what am I doing? So it's really about balancing that and doing it, slaying in your own lane. Hashtag slay in your own lane is my favorite saying, because you're not going to be successful because you tried to be someone else. You're going to be successful when you dive in and you find yourself.
Yeah, I 100% love and agree with all of that. And I think that a big thing for me is finding evidence of other people being successful the way you want to do it. And so one of those things that for me that really stands out is when I'm doing something, I always want to feel expansive. I want to feel like it's lighting me up and doing it. And for me, whenever anyone says you have to have really niched content, it makes me feel like I'm not showing up as myself. It makes me feel like I'm showing up as just a part of me and not all of me. And so I feel like you're very much giving the audience permission to show up as exactly who they are, which I absolutely love. Be who you are. And if doing the structured posts, if that's what's lighting you up, then go crazy. But if being a little bit messy and being a little bit however it shows up for you, that's totally okay. Like, that's totally fine. Just as you said, find what works for you, follow your intuition, follow the nudges. So I literally love this and 100% agree. If someone was wondering, say for example, they're going through that awakening and they're starting to tap into themselves, how do they fully tap into the gift that they should share or the gifts that they should share in their business?
The first thing you need to understand is we should never do this alone, like ever. You need to have support, because when we're stepping forward and we're just about to jump off the cliff and we're going to fly and we're going to bring our spiritual gifts into our business, right? There's so many nuances to this, but you need to have somebody, especially me, because I can't see myself very well. So I need people to reflect. I need people I trust that have no agendas or motives or jealousy to reflect back to me my genius, right? So then I know, oh, I'm feeling this. It feels good. Does this make sense? Like, am I making sense? Because, so we need to understand as well. So there's like two parts of it. The first thing is like, how do we do that? But the other part of it is like, how do we incorporate it? Because just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you need to be like, you may be a business coach. And a lot of people will do my magnificent mediumship program and they're coaches, or they are entrepreneurs, they're in real estate, they're school teachers, they're teaching human design. Like, not many of them are actually mediums going to get paid to make money out of being mediumship, because you're weaving through the spiritual practices in. So you don't necessarily say, I've done NLP and hypnotherapy and magnificent mediumship and I've done this. No one gives a shit about your credentials. They care about being in your energy. And that's why your content needs to be fluid with who you are on any given day. Some days I've got a hat, some days I've got a hair and a ponytail and my hair is greasy and I haven't like washed it for 3 days. Like, people love me or hate me because I am me. So as a spiritual being, that's why I'm not spiritual, because I am a spiritual being. It's who I am. I'm not anything, but I'm everything. And I bring that into my work. So someone comes to work with me, for instance, on their spiritual business. I want to start a spiritual business, Victoria. And what I can see as a projector is, I'm like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, my dad committed suicide. I've got bipolar. And this is a very common story, by the way. So it's not just one specific person. And I was a really bad kid. Okay, well, we need to work on your witch wound, because none of that shit that happened to you was your fault. Therefore, we need to decondition the mind. So that is when the energetic reprogramming mindset comes in. That's when the energetics of how to work with energy works in, the cleaning up of the ancestral history, the witch wound, the galactic lineage, the superpowers. And that's not even before we've even looked at social media. And what happened with a particular client I'm thinking about is we worked through the witch wound. She stopped saying sorry all the time. She started talking. She started realizing that she doesn't have any type of mental illness. In fact, that's her mother's illness being projected onto her. And of course, yeah, it's time to grieve that you actually did lose your father and there was a lot of toxicity in the relationships. So why wouldn't you go and marry someone and be in a toxic relationship? So like Dr. Phil always says, why wouldn't you be like that? So you need to do the spiritual practices yourself. And when you're coaching, when you're bringing this in, or whatever you're doing, and whatever modalities, you've got to read what's actually happening. I used to get really frustrated in business because I would just say, do this and this and this and this and this, because I'm very direct. And people would do it and they'd get no results, or they wouldn't do it. Why aren't they doing it? But when they come to work with me closer, I'm like, oh my God, you actually think those things about yourself? You know they're not true, right? Let me show you. So I take them on a journey of gently unraveling by using human design, by using whatever modalities. It doesn't even matter what I'm doing. They don't even know I'm coaching them. I'm talking to them, but they're deconditioning. Their conversation 6 months later are like, I'm so amazing. I'm so beautiful. Look what I'm doing. My clients are signing up. Where before they were like, oh my God, I've got these issues. And I'm like, they're not even yours. So we weave it through, we be it. I start being the entity clearing. I am the medium. I be all the things. By using these gifts, I'm not pulling cards and doing psychic stuff all the time. It's like that's a tiny part of what I do. I'm talking in conversation and people's minds are blowing, and then they're having $75,000 months, or they're starting their business, or they're healing their marriage, or they are parenting with ease. Like their whole lives are transforming because I'm showing up to look at the whole person. And that is why bringing a spiritual practice into your business is everything. And that is why so many business coaches are failing or hustling like mofos, because they're not being the change. They are like pushing it, or they're trying to like pull it, or some energeticness is off. So I don't know if that, there's kind of like two parts to that question. So I don't know if that covers it, but
Yeah, no, I am loving this interview. I wish we could keep talking all day. I actually feel like the interview has evolved from where we thought it was going to be to literally the main point that we're really like hammering home here is showing up as yourself. Because when you were answering that question, then you were saying you can use the medium, you can use the NLP, you can use the, the business things that you've got, you can use it all. You don't need to just kind of be like, all right, I'm this and this is what I do. And so I literally am just loving literally everything you're saying, because I really genuinely believe that is in this interview, you're giving people permission to be themselves and create a profitable, successful business as who they are, using everything they've learned before. And yes, as you said, that's going to involve letting go of a lot of the story and a lot of the trauma and a lot of the ancestral stuff that they might be holding on to. But the end result that you're getting them to is for them to show up as themselves, which honestly, I just think is literally just something that is groundbreaking. I think that so many people are like, I can be myself in the kitchen. I can be myself at with the kids, but I can't be myself everywhere, and I certainly can't be myself online. You know what I mean? I can't be myself in my business. In my business, I have to be professional, and I can only use this modality and this modality. And, like I love that this whole interview has literally been about giving people permission to be themselves. And like for that, this interview is literally priceless. Like I'm so glad that the audience has got to listen to this, because it's just, yeah, I am loving this so much. So thank you. I do want to ask if someone is interested in getting into having a spiritual business and being seen and being who they are. What are three things that you would recommend that they could do within themselves or working with a coach to really to bring themselves out?
hmm. So the first one is find out what your human design is. I went to bed crying when I found out I was a projector, because I was wondering why I burnt out my whole entire life, and I work harder than anyone I know, but I couldn't hold the energy like normal people. I thought I had like a chronic fatigue or something. Find out your human design, because it's a system that's going to get you out of it. I'm not into systems or personality profiling because it's so variable, but the human design is a game changer. It's changed my relationship. I've got two manifest generated children, so I know that they were never routine children. I wasn't crazy. I just couldn't parent them the way that I was told to parent, which is a whole different podcast. My husband's a generator and he's emotional. I'm a non-emotional. He has waves. He's not depressed. He's not freaking manic. He just has waves. Like, so your whole world will change if you find out your human design, and how to listen to your authority. In other words, your intuition. So that is the number one thing that it helped me go from like the 100K to the multiple over and over and over again, because now I'm being me, not trying to be someone else. Um, the second thing is have support, and don't think that you're investing in yourself is ever over. Whether you're spending $10 a week in a membership for support, or whether you're like me and you're spending $1,000 a week, start somewhere, okay? Because I didn't start, I started off really stretching, which was 1,500 Australian, like a month with a coach. And I was like, oh my God, like it was so stretchy for me. Find something that stretches you and invest in that, so you got some literally skin in the game. So I fully believe in investing in people that are where you're at, or like that borrowed evidence that you said before, Simone, was really important. Borrowed evidence. If she can do it, I can do it. That's a game changer. It takes you from victim to victorious. Thirdly, be human. And don't try to be something that you're not. The whole fake it till you make it thing, like, there's a little bit of truth in there. Like, I showed up when I was shitting myself all the time. I was like, I'm shaking and I'm freaking out. And I always showed up with fear, right? So your fear and your fraudulism is never going to go away. And if you're not feeling it, then go a bit harder, right? You need to be on that edge all of the time. But don't fake who you are, because everyone can read you like a book. Show up and shine your brightest light. Even if I'm in my pajamas and I'm showing up, I'm still saying, guys, I'm in my winter right now. And sometimes I'm like, I'm in my summer. And I show up with as who I am. So I'm consistently showing up, but I'm not consistent because I'm a human. Please remember you're human. Be really nice to your children and really nice to your husband, because those people matter more than any of your audience. Okay. So that is my advice. There's probably about 10 there, but yeah.
No, I loved all of those. Like they were amazing. Thank you. And do you have any recommended resources that you think the audience would benefit from?
Yeah, so I do have a few books that I love. So I love the 5 a.m. Club. I can't tell you the authors' names on these. I can't remember it all, but the 5 a.m. Club is amazing. It's such a unique story, and it's got some really great kind of metaphors in there. The Big Leap is a game changer. That's from Gay Hendricks. And Existential Kink from Carolyn Elliott. Of course, that's a game changer. It's real kinky and will just kind of get you going, oh my God, I'm so kinky. I've got these edges. And yeah, they're probably my top three books that I've been really diving into the last the last couple of years. Um, if you want to dive deeper into your spiritual stuff, I highly recommend my YouTube channel, which is Awaken with Victoria Bond. Um, it is one huge activation. So I don't talk a lot about business. That's where I'm more discoverable, when people come down the rabbit hole and they start finding me and they're going, oh my God, this chick is actually doing this and this and this and this and this. So I like to be discoverable. But it will the energy and the activations and the transmissions and the intensity of my YouTube will activate your light language. It will activate your psychic abilities, because I literally have this superpower of cleaning out the multidimensional portals. So as a multidimensional being, we all are. We are time traveling through different dimensions all the time. right? So you can check out Bashar to learn more about that. But as we are traveling through the multi dimensions, there's a residue that's left behind often. So we can have like soul parts, energetic parts, entities, and all that type. So we're like magnets for crap. Like we need to clean them out. So if you listen to my YouTube channel, you will find that your energetic system will change just by listening to it. And that's without even like working with me. Of course, I've got my Awaken community with Victoria Bond on Facebook where you get to have readings and all sorts of stuff. It's a free community that you can enter. And yeah, I would just say follow your heart on whatever resources pop at you, but make sure that you're not just going into entertainment. Make sure you're choosing this to bring it in to activate so then you can bring your genius to the world.
Oh, I love all of that. I really love that you also told us about your YouTube channel because it literally sounds amazing. Like it sounds so good. And being around people, like as you said, that do activate you and watching content that has a purpose, not just mindly watching, but watching something because you know it's going to make you feel good or it's going to help you learn something or it's going to activate you. I literally love that. So you've told us where people can find you on YouTube. Where can people find you on Instagram and Facebook?
So basically, my whole brand is Awaken with Victoria Bond. So that is my Instagram, Awaken with Victoria Bond. My Facebook is the Awaken Community with Victoria Bond. And also in my website, I've got lots of free resources. So I've got free programs. I've got like a $12 program. I think that's still up there. And that is Awaken or awakenwithvictoriabond.com. So everything's Awaken with Victoria Bond. As soon as you put that into the Google search, it will pop up.
Oh, I love that. And thank you so much for being here today. Honestly, today's interview has been just mind blowing. It's not where we were thinking we were going, but I think it's probably one of the most valuable interviews I've ever done. So, yeah, I just hope that the entire audience realizes that they can just be themselves and it is their time to shine. So, thank you so much for being here today, Victoria, because this has just been phenomenal.
Thank you so much, Simone. This is so much fun, but also, like you say, so valuable because bringing your genius out into the world and having that impact, but also being able to receive the money for your genius is priceless. And we need to start realizing that it is just literally law of attraction. If whatever we put out always comes back, just we're not here to judge how that comes back. We just have to allow it to happen.
Yeah. No, I love that. Oh, thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you, Simone.